there you have it. PSG 4, Real Madrid nil. And this was a total domination. Real Madrid were destroyed from the get-go. And I mean, 5 minutes in less than 10 minutes, you were destroyed. Real Madrid fans, that is one of the most pathetic performances I've seen in a long time from Real Madrid. And listen, PSG deserve every credit that they're supposed to get. But the real issue is, what on earth? What the hell did Real Madrid do today? Like, big man thing. Like, what them do today? Because I don't understand is how they play, how they press. Some of these, like, high schooler mistakes from I think it was Asensio in the back line. And then Rudiger looked like his brain chipped out. Like, but we're going to get into it. But firstly, again, PSG, congratulations. They were absolutely fantastic from the get-go. Pressed well, just doing what they've been doing all season. And they're pretty much, you see why they're the European champions. And probably soon to be club World Cup champions or club best club champions in the world. But my gosh, they were fantastic, and it was just brilliant, beautiful football, fluid, fluent, pacey, creation, off the ball movement, just beautiful football from the get-go. And I have to say, like, Luis Enrique has done a fantastic job in literally crafting this team as to the best team that they are right now, and pretty much hands down the best team in the world, easily. Better than Liverpool, better than Barca, better than Madrid, definitely better than Manchester City. They are the best team. But listen, I have to say this because I've been watching the game. I watched it again, and parts of the game, I should say. And what I saw from Real Madrid, really, I've not seen Real Madrid do this in a very long time. And personally, you can take it with a grain of salt, maybe. But there are things that needs to be addressed. The first thing is the team is aging, right? So they just bought Trent Alexander-Arnold. They just bought Dejan Housen from Bournemouth, and both didn't play today. We don't know why. I don't think I heard as to why. Probably because of injury, possibly. But today, let's start from the back line. Rudiger and Asensio were atrocious. They were despicably atrocious, and I mean, they were awful. It almost looked as if they were clueless as to how to defend, as to how to pass, how to move off the ball, how to, when in possession of the ball, where to pass the ball to get open, to receive the ball in particular spaces. And it was just men against boys. That front three today from PSG literally had Madrid on skates. Like they had no breathing, no room, no air. When Courtois had the ball at his feet, Dembélé was pressing the life out of him. Even at the end of the game, Courtois said to Dembélé, "My gosh, you press so hard. You're constantly pressing." And he was like literally a bloodhound as to how he wanted the ball every single time that they wanted to play from the back and play out from possession. But it felt as if Real Madrid froze up in the big occasion, which is very weird to say because they are the most decorated club in world football, and the moment was just too big for them. And Asensio with his goal, schoolboy error, Ricochet end up get the ball, Ruiz puts it away, goal number one, and then Rudiger, I don't know what to say, 2-0. In the space less than 10 minutes. Cooked already. And you would think like, and I guess in the back of my head, because of the history of Real Madrid, I'm thinking like, of course they're going to come back into this. This is like no problem. They're supposed to get back into this because they're Real Madrid. They have that pedigree, the history. They have the quality to do so. They have the magic to do so. But as the first half continued to go on, and I'm watching it and I'm saying like, this doesn't look like Real Madrid is going to get back in the game. It almost feels as though it's like, you know, that Arsenal game, like you expect them to come up, but it just wasn't happening. And I'm starting to see again replica of that. Now, if we're going to be honest, of course it is Xabi Alonso's first full, first season and pretty much like first tournament, and he's just gotten the squad literally less than 3 weeks. So he's just getting used to the squad, trying to get his ideas across. And of course, we're going off the assumption because they were playing so well in the group stages and did so well so far in the knockout stages that we expected them to really hit the heights and hit the ground running. But to be honest, I think the selection first. Let's talk about the starting, like the starting 11 from Madrid, which I thought was overly attacking. One, you didn't have enough defensive coverage because Tchouaméni was playing in a back three, right? So no, it was Gula. It was, I think Gula was playing as a six. You had, what's his name? You had Bellingham, who was playing beside him. Then you had Valverde playing out wide, kind of a 3-4-2-1 formation that they were playing. But they just kept getting bypassed in the middle of the field because, again, PSG's quality was there and they just could not maintain that. They couldn't handle that. And PSG just played them off the park. Literally pressed them off the park. And that led to like so many chances. And we're going to get into, I think, one of the most, I'm going to say, controversial statements. And you can let me know if you agree or disagree, because I really think this probably has to change going into this season and for the future, because I think it has to change. Something has to change because it's year 2 of Real Madrid playing as how they are. So I'm thinking this might happen. But as I said, the starting 11 just was not there. There was more attacking. There wasn't any balance to when in position what to do with the ball, and then out of position how you're supposed to be defending, right? Bellingham was, I would say, not at his best position, because really should be playing as kind of that link up, that crusher into the box, that kind of in a diamond way, in a 4-4-2 diamond. But because Xabi Alonso plays with a 3-4-2 and he was playing beside Gula, who I thought had a decent game, but literally it was just men against boys. And leading up to so many chances, that first half was so horrible from Madrid. I was saying to someone in a WhatsApp group that it's almost as if PSG just kept attacking the same sides. Like how Madrid wanted to defend was that they wanted to defend narrow. So they would give PSG the room and the spaces on the flanks and the wings to do so. But if you don't defend well collectively, then you're going to be picked apart. And there were multiple chances and multiple times in games where Kvaratskhelia and Dembélé and Doué were just having their way against the fullbacks. Sometimes it was a 2v1, sometimes it was a 3v1. They were literally schooling Valverde on the right side, and they were schooling Garcia on the left side. Literally, they were just like having their way. And one of the reasons, again, is because there wasn't enough coverage from their wingers. And interestingly enough, I don't know why, but Vinny was playing more centrally than usual, and Mbappe was playing centrally as well. And I think I forgot his name, Gonzalez was playing like as a 10 at times, which was very weird. I don't know why change it up, but we get into that. But PSG just kept bombing down that side. And Madrid did little to nothing to try and stop the bleeding. Stop the hemorrhaging. Stop literally those chances keep creating. And trying to get this team to press as well as any other team, even as good as PSG. Something has to change for Madrid to get to the levels of PSG and Barcelona. Because I'm telling you from now, if this continues, Xabi Alonso is going to have a torrid time this into a long season, into the Champions League, particularly playing against the better teams in like the knockout stages. They're going to have a horrid time. Quality can bring you as far as it can, and sometimes with a dust of magic. But if your team does not play well collectively, you're going to lose. And the prime example for that for Madrid is that they did the same thing against Arsenal and lost 5-1 on aggregate. Was Arsenal quality-wise, in terms of man for man, pound for pound, better team? No, Madrid had the better team in terms of star names, in terms of quality. But collectively, Arsenal were better, and they'd show that over time and over the two that they were the better team. Hence why they dumped Real Madrid 5-1. And it's the same thing that happened in the PSG game today. Like, some persons wanted to press, some person didn't want to press. i.e. Mbappe, i.e. Vinicius Jr., just they didn't show any effort to press, to play. And PSG just kept finding pockets of spaces, dropping into spaces where person didn't pick up, like a Dembele who dropped into space and person didn't pick up that man. And so he found the pass and then off he goes and give it to Kvaratskhelia, who is on the wing now 1v1 against Valverde and then can cut in at any time some of the times, or gives it to Due, or Fabian Ruiz gets it, passes it to Due, and it is Due and Dembele versus Garcia on the left side by himself, or stretching the team or stretching Real Madrid backline so much that they're finding pockets of spaces, literally holes in the backline. That's how horrible Real Madrid were today. Disgustingly horrible. But again, Luis Enrique said that, of course, you can't really compare PSG to Real Madrid because Enrique has been trying to do this with the team for 2 years, and literally for Xabi Alonso, he's been trying to do this with the team for 2 weeks, right? So I get it. We can't really say fine. Let's say, based on how they play. But really, you're Real Madrid. Some of these efforts and some of these errors, like they're childish, they're schoolboy errors, like things like that can't happen, right? And so the third goal literally was just like beautiful football. PSG playing out from the back. Again, Madrid not pressing well, and so trying to press man to man. PSG has the technical ability and the tenacity and intensity to play out from the back, beat your press, and off he goes. So really have a fact, that was one of the worst first halves I've seen Real Madrid play in a very, very long time. And you might say it's early, but it's literally things like that, performances like this, if you don't take it seriously, thinking that you're just going to waltz your way into the season because like, oh, this you don't have to worry about it. Little habits like this that you pick up always come back into games, and you find out in the long run, or find out the worst way in the long run, that we should have addressed this in the preseason, in the summer, where you had time. Now, again, I said I was going to address it, but I think for how Real Madrid, or how Xabi Alonso wants Real Madrid to play in terms of pressing, in terms of defending, persons have to give an effort to play well. Real Madrid is not, as a club and as a culture, are not the best in terms of collectively pressing well as a unit, defending well as a unit. More often than not, it's just individual brilliance. How they play, more often than not, is not even possessional football, it's counter-attacking football. And for them to do what other teams like PSG and Liverpool, to some extent Manchester City and even Arsenal, to play as a unit and to play well, to have that success, persons are going to have to drop ego. And I understand that Real Madrid, with the Real Madrid brand and the jersey, that your ego soars from like 100 to 1,000. But if you are not at that level like Mbappe or Yamal or Due or Dembele or Salah, or even currently climbing like a Verts, then you're going to have to put a shift in. And Vinicius Jr. has been playing freeload for the past season and is about to enter into the next season of freeloading. If Real Madrid, and I hope maybe somebody clips this, if Real Madrid wants to be successful over a longer period of time as to how football is playing, they're going to have to sell Vinicius Jr. if he does not change. Why do I say that? Because how Xabi Alonso wants his team to play, because he tried so many formations to try and mitigate as much of the errors and as much as the spaces as to how PSG were just carving out Real Madrid. Trying a 5-3-2, even try switching to a 4-4-2, it just wouldn't help because it put Vinicius and Mbappe at the forefront, and he had Gonzalo on the right, and I think he had Bellingham in the middle, trying to stop the gap, stop the bleeding centrally. But then again, they weren't defending collectively because Garcia, the left back for Real Madrid, was getting hounded and beaten up multiple times because Vinicius Jr. decided not to track back and help to defend. If you look at Due, if you look at Dembele, not all the time that they track back to defend, because they are very good at pressing and normally press high, they normally win the ball up the pitch. But if there are times in the game where Real Madrid began to get into the game and to now start to play on the right side or play on the left side, trying to have 2v1s, you will see that they track back as best as they could to try and stop that kind of attack and possession. Try to stop the build-up. Try to stop a way of getting Real Madrid out of their game plan. You saw the effort. And if Vinicius Jr. does not want to change his way of defending, trying to get back and defend, because he's not Mbappe. He's not going to score 30-odd goals and 40 goals for the season. He's not. And he's not a generational talent like Bellingham, who can be a freeloader but doesn't want to be a freeloader based on how the team plays, because again, he wants the team to play well. Mbappe not so much. Mbappe won't press. Let's just get that out there. Mbappe does not press at no point in time. You can only have one freeloader per se, and I use freeloader very lightly because you don't freeload. It's more like persons, your attacking output outweighs your defensive work if you're able to do so. Salah can do that. Mbappe can do that. Messi can do that. Ronaldo can do that. Right? Persons of that ilk are able to do that because their attacking output enables a team to find an outlet for them to score. Mbappe can do that. Vinicius Jr. is not that. Vinicius Jr. needs to get his behind and try and help the team defend and track back as best as possible. But if he doesn't, I promise you, I think Real Madrid needs to look at a transfer to get Vinicius Jr. out of the club, get some money in a supporting cast that is able to not only play the Real Madrid way, technically great, wonderfully gifted, and can score, but also able to track back as well and defend, because that is important. When you have two persons like that, and on both wings, remember, both of them play on the left side some of the times, and none of them track back, you're asking for trouble. You are putting a huge, enormous pressure on Garcia, and he's not going to win all his tackles. Goals are... Listen, PSG, the 4-0 flatters Real Madrid, because really of a fact, PSG should have scored at least 7 or 8 today. That's how bad Real Madrid were. But, again, being at the big club that they are, kudos to PSG, man. Like, thump Inter Milan 5-0, you thump Bayern Munich, you thump Real Madrid, and now you're into another final, and you are the overwhelming favorite. Shout out to Luis Enrique and his team. Listen, I wish Liverpool could have that kind of technical ability with Vitinha and Fabian Ruiz and João Neves. Just their football is just so beautiful. I heard a commentator, and I saw persons tweeting this saying that it's a replica of the peak of Barcelona in 2009. But I think the difference between them and that Barcelona is that I think they just don't hold possession for possession's sake, that they want to attack. They want to literally step in your throat and be done with you. Even at 3-0, they were still seeking for more. And truthfully, like how that team defended, I love how that team defends. Hakimi is just like a literal energizer bunny that is on steroids. The way how he runs, my gosh, Hakimi just non-stop running. Like, it's hard to track him. So you have Hakimi, you have Due, you have Dembele, and they are being swamped. Sometimes in possession, at the build-up, PSG had like a 5 versus 3 in the first phase of their build-up. In the middle of the park, Real Madrid tried to press them and have more bodies. Right? There was a 4, but then sometimes like a Vitinha would drop in the middle and it turns into a 4 versus 3, then it switches to a 5 versus 3, then to a 5 versus 2 because it just literally bypassed the press. It was just so great to watch today, and PSG deserve every accolade that they get. Listen, if Dembele wins the Ballon d'Or, it's well deserved. And I think he's the front runner and the favorite to win it. Really. Because he has been playing outstanding football. I remember when Dembele was coming up, and because of his injury at Barcelona, so injury prone, that person were ready to write him off. I was ready to write him off. And the fact that he goes over into PSG and is just absolutely balling out, it's a selfless team. Yes, they have the ego and the money and whatever, but it's just a selfless team. They are literally an example of how Luis Enrique is as a person. If your team does not replicate the manager, or show not just the idea, but is the persona of the manager, then you have no team. Klopp did that with Liverpool. Pep does that with Manchester City, Barcelona, and even Bayern Munich, right? And Luis Enrique does this. They are a selfless, energetic, passionate team that are willing to throw themselves at the ball at any single given moment for the better of the team. And PSG deserve their credit today. Fabian Ruiz was excellent. Dembele was excellent. Due doing what he does best. Gonzalo scoring and shouting to homage and rest in peace to Diogo Jota with his celebration and scoring. Beautiful goal, by the way. And they have that. And Barcola coming on is they have the team. They do, and the best thing about it is it's a young team that you're able to mold for years to come. And they can add more to that team based on the quality and the money that they have. And if persons, young, up and coming, young gems who see this want to be a part of it, it's good for PSG. PSG were written off like years ago as the nearly team, always coming in the Champions League as the favorites and then end up losing to the bigger team, choking to Barcelona at the Camp Nou, losing to Real Madrid, losing to Liverpool, always losing at the quarterfinals and around the 16. But over time, they've developed more, going to a Champions League final, going to a semi-final, and now winning the Champions League, and now on the cusp of maybe winning a Club World Cup for the very first time. It really is something. And once you really know, work and inject time into coaching, because I think this is what matters. Coaching matters in this iteration of football, into this now mode or model of football that is up and coming. That coaching matters. It's not just about system. How best are you able to coach your team to play well, and how smart are your players to outplay other teams? So I think that is important. But kudos to them. I can't wait for the final. PSG versus Chelsea. But you can let me know, guys, what you think. Like, subscribe, and let me know. And you can share this. Comment. Please leave some comments as well. Can't wait. Let's get this to 200 subscribers. Until next time, guys. Peace.